Allison, if you were wishing for another episode of RT Essentials, consider it granted. Today we'll be talking about your classic Make-A-Wish films, where one stray thought spoken out loud can be enough to turn toys into real boys into adult men, moms into their angsty teen daughters, and said daughters into their moms? Wow, just like every girl's dream. But for every dream deal that's too good to be true, there's gonna be a catch, and for some reason, it's probably gonna come in the form of Judy Greer. Hey look, I don't make the magic wishing rules around here. I'm just an antique fortune-telling machine messenger you can find down by the boardwalk. No matter what dreams may come true, movies about magic wishes all share a similar message. It's always better to be yourself than to be anyone else. And that includes your own mother, the actual Lord God, or even a 30-year-old senior editor for Poise, your favorite fashion magazine. I know, hard to believe. Well, don't just take my word for it. Sit back, relax, and get ready to see for yourself in this all-new episode of RT Essentials, the best wish fulfillment movies. Freaky Friday.
Now, girls, you're not children any longer. I feel that I can speak with you as adults. I think you're intelligent enough to grasp exactly what I have to say to you right now. What is this?
It's your usual rum raisin banana split breakfast.
Figures. What else would the junk food junkie eat for breakfast? That is about the most revolting concoction I've ever put inside my mouth.
Though the idea of waking up as your mother seems less like wish fulfillment, more like a depressing inevitability, if not outright body horror, Gary Nelson's 1976 Freaky Friday is still considered the OG body swap movie. Starring a young Jodie Foster as high school student Annabelle and Barbara Harris as her mother Ellen, at least until they both simultaneously wish to be the other, with hilarity ensuing, Freaky Friday earned 3 Golden Globe nominations. 1 for the song I'd Like to Be You for a Day, and 2 for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. Technically, since they played each other, they were nominated for the same role? Freaky Friday has proved so popular that it's been remade 3 times by Disney. A TV movie starring Shelley Long, hey, from Cheers, and Gabby Hoffman, the 2003 Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis remake, and a 2018 Disney Channel musical starring Cozy Zulsdorf and Heidi Blickenstaff, who I've just been informed are actual actors and not backup singers for ABBA. If it had not been for Jodie Foster's mom, Freaky Friday may have never happened, and instead we'd be living in an alternate universe where the Silence of the Lambs actress was our Princess Leia. That's right, George Lucas wanted her for the part when casting Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope, but her mother opted to honor Foster's contract with Disney instead, the irony not being lost on those of us living in the future where being in a Star Wars movie actually counts towards your Disney credit. Freaky Friday helped kickstart the genre of body-swapping films that really flourished in the 1980s. You've got your Like Father Like Sons, your Dream a Little Dreams, Vice Versas, and even your All of Me's, where instead of swapping places with someone married to her own father, a bedridden Lily Tomlin ends up in the body of her lawyer, played by Steve Martin. None of the future Spawns would attempt to stick the same landing as Freaky Friday, since by the 80s a climactic water skiing incident would already be known as jumping the shark. Bruce Almighty.
Hello? I need your help! Clap on! Clap on! Clap on! Clap on! Clap on! Figures!
Well, hello there, Bruce Almighty. Not as easy as it looks, is it, son? This God business.
Bruce Almighty aimed higher in terms of wish fulfillment. If you were going to trade places with someone, maybe look outside your immediate family and go with God. Literally. The titular character, played by Jim Carrey, gets to take on the powers of the great almighty deity, played by Morgan Freeman, from whom he also unintentionally inherits the gig's heavy responsibilities. And honestly, living in a post-Spider-Man early aughts, Bruce only has himself to blame for not reading the entire fine print and choosing to focus on the immediate perks like being able to part tomato soup, undermine Steve Carell at work, and have monkeys fly out of people's butts. You know, the run-of-the-mill God stuff. If you catch a familiar face or two in Bruce Almighty, no, you're not going crazy. That is the same monkey from the movie Outbreak, probably best known for playing Marcel in Friends, alongside Bruce Almighty co-star Jennifer Aniston. He was comfortable with the film's lead as well, having worked with Jim Carrey on both Ace Ventura films. Look, you know what they say about Hollywood, it's all about who you fling poo at. This axiom was also true for director Tom Shadyac, who had collaborated with Carrey first on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective and Liar Liar. The latter of which we'll be talking about a little bit later, but I do want to give honorable mention to Ace Ventura since it contributed to the wish fulfillment of having Jim Carrey's comedy career back in 1994. Jack Nicholson and Robert De Niro were among two of the other actors originally approached about playing God in the film. Probably best that didn't pan out, or else we might have a scene where Bruce is praying and God shows up saying, "You talking to me?"
Ferris.
Big.
Thank you. Brennan. Baskin.
What is this?
Payday.
Hey, whoa, where's mine?
$187?
Yep. They really screw you, don't they?
Who as a kid never dreamed about adulthood with its seeming total lack of accountability? Having ice cream for breakfast, sleeping until 2 in the afternoon, wearing pajamas 24/7. I do all those things. Yes, it's all about childhood dreams being easily achievable as a grown-up depressed freelancer. Penny Marshall's 1988 hit Big was the proof of concept for many of us who grew up thinking we could land jobs by getting good at the giant keyboard at FAO Schwartz. When preteen Josh gets his one wish of the boardwalk, thanks to a mechanical genie, he wakes up the next day to find himself in the body of a young Tom Hanks, which isn't the immediate dream it appears to be. Unable to go home, he's forced to fend for himself in the big city, where he's pretty much immediately employed by a toy company run by Robert Loggia, thanks to his innate child's ability to know the notes for chopsticks. And yes, that is Hanks and Loggia in the infamous FAO scene. After noticing two guys approximating their heights and age hanging out during rehearsal, the actors realized they'd be replaced by stunt doubles if they weren't able to nail the choreography, and they vowed to get the number right themselves. Hey, having your own stunt double waiting in the wings counts for its own kind of wish fulfillment in my book. And though Hanks' boyish charm made him an obvious first choice for the role, his shooting schedule forced him to pass on Big. The amount of actors that passed on the role thereafter are staggering. Judge Reinhold, John Travolta, Steve Guttenberg, Robin Williams, Albert Brooks, and Gary Busey were just a few of the names approached about taking the part. Really? That's the movie I want to see. The studios didn't bite until a certain name came along, a guy who may have played God once had it not been for Morgan Freeman. That's right, Robert De Niro was locked and ready to go for Big, but his demand for a $6 million payday cost him the part, especially when Hanks freed up some time and took the role for only $2 million smack. Big would go on to be Hanks' first Best Actor Oscar nomination and minted Penny Marshall as the first female director to have a film make over $100 million. You know what, BRB, I gotta go talk to my man Zoltar about making some of my wishes come true. Oh wait, he already did with the whole ice cream thing. Bedazzled.
Promise not to tell anyone.
Okay.
Cross your heart and hope to die.
Yeah.
I'm the devil.
Okay.
The devil's in the details when it comes to Bedazzled, Harold Ramis's Y2K remake of the Peter Cook and Dudley Moore comedy that set Faust in 1960s London. But while making a deal with the devil is a tale as old as time, or at least the Old Testament, there is a modern twist when meek, nebbish computer programmer Elliot Rogers, played by the great Brendan Fraser, is approached by Beelzebub with an offer to trade 7 wishes for his immortal soul. Classic Lord of Darkness stuff. The demon appears as Elizabeth Hurley. Fellas, I'm obligated by law to throw in one. Does that make you horny, baby? Because she's got actual horns. Elliot's wishes go predictably awry. Each scenario reimagines Elliot, his crush and co-workers in different alternate realities, living out some monkey's paw version of what he had asked for. But ultimately, it wasn't Fraser's heavily marketed impression of Dennis Rodman that stole the show. Instead, millions of boys across the world had their wish granted by Elizabeth Hurley's wardrobe in Bedazzled, which no expenses were spared. Costume designer Dina Appel did the Lord's work here, collaborating with Hurley on 19 different outfits that fit Satan's penchant for little black and red dresses. For that many get-ups, Appel had to get creative. One was a dyed version of an ensemble she put Hurley in for Austin Powers. And the infamous schoolgirl look, that came from Hurley's own wardrobe. So yeah, basically Hurley was just asking America, do I make you? I already did that joke. Harold Ramis is no stranger to the wish-granting genre. Movies like Groundhog Day and Dave all explore the downside of being stuck in extraordinary circumstances, whether that's getting to play president or infinitely looping through one single holiday. In 1998, when Ghostbusters 3 fell through, Ramis expressed interest in this project and found himself in a devil of a pickle. The timing conflicted with his latest project, Galaxy Quest, and he ultimately had to drop out of directing that movie in order to make Bedazzled. While he did remain on Galaxy Quest as a producer, it does prove sometimes you just gotta sell your soul for art. Am I right? Anybody? Liar, liar.
Is it good for you? I've had better.
1997's Liar Liar. It's not your typical wish fulfillment movie because Jim Carrey's character, Fletcher Reed, doesn't exactly start the film praying for a big change in his life. Instead, it's his son's birthday wish that forces the chronically fibbing father to speak the whole truth for an entire day. And considering that Fletcher is a sleazeball lawyer in the middle of a career-defining divorce trial, the timing just couldn't be worse. Liar Liar marked a departure for Carrey, who had made a name for himself in raunchy and outrageous comedies like Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura, which had all hit theaters only 3 years prior. And teaming up again with Ace Ventura director Tom Shadyac, Carrey went from wildly buffoonish to... I mean, look, it's Jim Carrey. He's still pretty manic in this one, but we also get that he's a workaholic caught up in a bizarre birthday spell instead of being an entire human cartoon. Carrey took the role immediately after reading the script, delighted to finally play a, quote, normal person. And you best believe this was his motivation as he turned down the role of Austin Powers to star in the family-friendly flick. But look, a fish gotta swim, a bird's gotta fly, and Jim Carrey's gotta be a human puppet made out of bouncy rubber. The scene in which he hurled himself around the courtroom bathroom, beating himself up, required no extra sound editing. Every whap you hear are the real noises caused by Jim Carrey slamming himself against various pieces of set. For you diehard Carrey heads, there's even an Easter egg in the movie that alludes to the actor's comedic roots. In the aftermath of a big plane chase scene, eagle-eyed viewers can spot Fire Marshal Bill, one of Carrey's characters from his days on In Living Color, in the background doing crowd control. Alrighty then, guess that was Carrey's version of being subtle? It's a Wonderful Life.
Clarence! Help me, Clarence! Get me back! Get me back! I don't care what happens to me! Get me back to my wife and kids! Help me, Clarence, please! Please! I want to live again! I want to live again!
It's a Wonderful Life ranks S tier in wish fulfillment movies, and with good reason. In Frank Capra's 1949 classic, Jimmy Stewart plays George Bailey, a man at the end of his rope who's given a second chance at life, or at least to see what the world would look like without his good deeds, thanks to his guardian angel, whose real name is Clarence. In the end, the down-on-his-luck banker avoids jail time when the town comes together to pitch in to help pay off his debts. As a subscriber to Next Door, I'm going to say the whole angelic intervention by a personalized What If episode is the lesser of these two miracles. Really, they all pitched in for George Bailey. Okay. A good Hollywood rule of thumb is that increasing the number of writers on any project will have a directly inversely proportionate effect to its success. Doesn't matter if it's James Mangold directing a movie with two of the world's most bankable stars. When the WGA was forced to remove 11 of the 12 writing credits for Night and Day, you know it's gonna bomb. It's a Wonderful Life managed to be the exception, with several legendary Hollywood scribes ending up contributing to the script, including Dorothy Parker and Dalton Trumbo. Oh, so that's why the movie's so anti-Big Bank and is resolved with socialism. I kid. While considered a classic by today's standards, Life bombed in theaters on its initial release. It didn't gain the cult holiday status it enjoys today until 1974 when the film's copyright expired, making Wonderful public domain. In the subsequent decades that followed, Capra's film became TV network's go-to stocking stuffer, filling in the time slots to cover for the lack of original programming during the holidays. Man, I guess it's lucky it came out before A Christmas Story. Now we all love and cherish It's a Wonderful Life, so don't you ever feel guilty for tearing up at the sound of a bell ringing or a lively rendition of Buffalo Girls Won't You Come Out Tonight. Stars Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed both considered it their favorite film, while Capra cited it as the greatest achievement of his career. 13 going on 30.
And speaking of hot, Mr. Hottie behind you is totally scamming on you right now.
He is not. He's totally cute. Should I go talk to him? You're not married. Could I borrow your ketchup?
2004's 13 Going on 30 is another example of the birthday wish fulfillment subgenre. Jenna Rink is a geeky teen in 1994 when she's humiliated by her friends during her 13th birthday. Locked in a closet, Jenna wishes that she could fast forward and wake up as the 30-year-old magazine editor she's dreamt of being one day. Well, she gets her wish, and the added bonus is that she wakes up in Jennifer Garner's body. But unlike some other examples on this list, Jenna's path to adulthood was not overnight. Instead, her consciousness had been zapped forward a decade. Ignore all the thorny metaphysical implications about fatalism and free will, and you're left with a super fun rom-com that tapped into a generation of female fans' desire for autonomy, success, and material luxuries. 13 Going on 30 features a number of performances by future MCU actors. Besides that big hulking green guy as a grown-up version of Jenna's shy crush, there's Andy Serkis as her boss at the fashion magazine Poise, Judy Greer as her backstabbing childhood bestie turned assistant editor, and even a blink and you'll miss it cameo from a young Captain Marvel with Brie Larson in a non-speaking role as one of the mean girls who torments Jenna in the 1990s. The irony here is that Jennifer Garner herself has never been in an MCU movie, despite starring in both Marvel's Daredevil and Elektra. Can we get Jen into something, please? To prepare for the role, Garner spent a lot of time hanging out with her teenage counterpart, Krista B. Allen, and found her so impressive that she would tap her again to play her younger self 5 years later in Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. In October, fans rejoiced on social media as Allen officially turned 30, while the rest of us frantically Googled the movie's release date in the hopes that we'd read the fact wrong. Are we really that old? This movie didn't come out oh god, it did. 2004 was that long ago? Already? Pinocchio.
Hey, you laugh like a donkey. Did that come out of me? Oh. Huh? What's going on?
Pinocchio is the 1940 Disney classic about a sentient marionette carved by a lonely old man and brought to life by a benevolent deity known as the Blue Fairy, the one that dangles the prospect of becoming a real boy over the doll's head to, keep him good. In what seems like overkill, unless you seriously consider that the doll you just brought to life is, hello, Chucky? The fairy conjures through other failsafes in Pinocchio's morality clause, giving him a nose that grows larger with every lie he tells, and appointing a bug named Jiminy Cricket to act as an ethics advisor to a child's toy. Maybe unsurprisingly, Pinocchio initially began as an unlikable protagonist, a bratty wooden child who needed Jiminy Cricket's constant lecturing to stay honest. Halfway through the animation process, Walt Disney halted production to retool the story and make Pinocchio a little more tolerable. Though I think we'd all like to see the cut where the title character is just smoking and cursing up a storm from a mouth situated underneath a Cyrano de Bergerac-length schnoz. The film bombed upon its release. Why did all these movies bomb initially? Though not because it's literally too traumatic to show children, but because of the turbulence caused by the lead up to World War II, when overseas markets were cut off from American distribution. Despite these significant hurdles, Pinocchio went on to become the first animated film to win an Academy Award in a competitive category, earn a profit during release, and get a 100% certified fresh rating from our own tomato meter. And in a creepy twist, the real puppet used as the model for Pinocchio went missing after the film was completed and stayed gone for over 50 years until it was discovered in a basement cabinet at Disney. Wow, the divergent life of toys. Not everybody gets to be Buzz and Woody and have adventures. Some of them just take a nap in a cabinet for 50 years. Cinderella.
There's nothing left to believe in. Nothing.
Nothing, my dear? Now, you don't really mean that.
Oh, but I do.
Nonsense, child. If you'd lost all your faith, I couldn't be here. And here I am.
Oh, it's a beautiful dress. Did you ever see such a beautiful dress? And look, glass slippers.
Bippity boppity boop. After tackling the tale of the wooden boy who couldn't die, Disney's next big hit would be the slightly more conventional wish fulfillment, Cinderella, in 1950. The original poor girl slipper strapping her way to the top saga. We all know the tale. While being forced to toil as a servant for her naughty stepmother and stepsisters, Cinderella secretly schemes to attend the royal ball and dance with the prince. Cinderella's fairy godmother arrives to help her with the glow-up, but a countdown clock sends her scurrying into the night, leaving behind a happy accident of misplaced footwear. Ultimately, Cinderella gets her prince, and even the step-family comes out okay in the end, since at least they didn't have to lose large chunks of their heels and toes, as was the case in the original Grimm story from which this film was adapted. Walt Disney's personal favorite piece of animation came from Cinderella. as Godmother transforms Cinderella's tattered rags into a pristine silver gown. But the true magic trick happened behind the scenes. After a decade of box office duds thanks to World War II, Cinderella was the final gamble Walt Disney could make before he went totally bankrupt. To save time and money, the studio shot a majority of the film in live action first for animators to replicate later. And, well, the rest is history. Literally. Cinderella brought Disney's golden age of animation to a close and ushered in a new era where subsequent films were produced less artistically and more with an eye towards commercial and financial success. This changing of the guard was mirrored by the studio replacing Sleeping Beauty's castle for Cinderella's as both the company's logo and flagship location at the heart of its newest theme park, Disney World, which opened in 1970. Really? I always thought they were the same castle, but apparently Cinderella's abode, which again, we only really see once in the film before she lives there, is bigger than her predecessors. Ooh, that's an idea for a show. The Real Castle Wives of Disney. Little.
You went to bed grown and then you woke up little. But that's for white people, because black people don't have the time.
I know!
What happened?
I can't even think of what could possibly have happened.
No. I mean, how did you go from this to this? That's...
Regina Hall, Issa Rae, and Mikey Day, best known for not being Pete Davidson on Saturday Night Live, co-star in Little, 2019's passion project for Blackish actress Marseille Martin. Hall is a tech mogul who is too busy breaking the glass ceiling to give her assistant April the time of day until her wish of being a kid again the night before a meeting with her biggest client backfires and puts her back into a 14-year-old body. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you're a high-powered executive, maybe don't go making whimsical little pronouncements with vague wording the night before your biggest investor comes to town. And if you do, just be very, very specific with what kind of timey-wimey magic you're in the market for. With Little, Marson, who plays Hall's younger self, not only pitched the movie to studios herself, but got an executive producer credit for making it, making her literally the youngest executive producer in Hollywood history. And that leads me to my latest theory that Mason is IRL, a middle-aged movie producer who made a wish on a magic theater screen so they could go back and finance and star in Little. Prove me wrong. Somebody prove me wrong. And yes, you could be saying to yourself, isn't this just the Benjamin Button version of 13 Going on 30? Which, by the way, great reference. The movie's inspiration is actually another film on this week's list and is hiding in plain sight. Of course, a movie called Little would be the story of Big in reverse. Don't feel bad, it took me like 5 minutes to figure that out. I can also forgive you for forgetting about the similar premise of 17 again, as I'm sure both Zac Efron and Matthew Perry wish they could. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode on the best wish fulfillment in cinema. What? We didn't even talk about Mr. Destiny yet. Jim Belushi, Rene Russo, John Lovitz. Here's a final fun fact for you instead. The term wish fulfillment comes from Sigmund Freud's Wunscherfüllung, which he described as manifestations of repressed subconscious desires. It's a shame he never got to see Freaky Friday because, boy, he would have had a field day with that one. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. You can always check us out at RottenTomatoes.com, where we're bringing you the best in movie and entertainment news, as well as our trusted tomato meter of critic reviews and audience scores. You've been watching RT Essentials. I'm Mark Ellis, and I really wish you'd stick around because we have some great programming coming up right after this. And that's adult and kid Mark saying that.